Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to another lesson. Today you're going to be editing your narrative writing with Miss Casey. I'm Miss Sarah. I hope you'll have a great day.
Thank you. Hey, boys and girls. Now remember, in our last lesson, we drafted our narrative writing and we created our own from our planning sheet. So we've done the planning piece of writing and the drafting piece of writing. Today, we're going to edit some writing. When I came in this morning, I had a piece of writing that was already hanging up on the wall right here. And this is by Mr. Mouse. You can see my picture of Mr. Mouse. Mr. Mouse is a little mouse who likes to listen to our lessons, but he's very shy, so he doesn't like to participate. He just left his writing for us to edit today. But before we do that, let's remember a couple things. A narrative writing is retelling of a fiction text. That's what we did. We wrote about the beginning, middle, and end of the text. And now, let's review the story before we edit our writing. King Log and King Crane. Once the frog said, "We wish we had a king. We need a king. We must have a king." The frogs spoke to the gods. They said, "We ask you, the gods, to send us a king." This is where the frogs are talking to the gods up in the sky. "The frogs are fools," said the gods. "As a joke, let us send them a big log to be their king." The gods got a big log and let it drop. The log fell in the pond and made a big splash. The frogs were scared of the log. They said, "King Log is strong. We must hide from him in the grass." So here you see the log dropping into the water. As time went by, the frogs came to see that King Log was tame. He did not bite. He did not run. He just sat there. "King Log is not a strong king," said one frog. "I wish we had a strong king." "I do too. We must have a strong king." The frogs spoke to the gods. They said, "We ask you, the gods, to send us a strong king and send him soon." Here they are asking for a strong king now. This time the gods sent a crane to be king of Frogland. King Crane was not like King Log. He did not just sit there. He ran fast on his long legs and he ate lots of the frogs. So King Crane was not like King Log. He chased the frogs and ate them. Here he is chasing the frogs and trying to eat them. The frogs were sad. "King Crane is a bad king," they said. "We miss King Log. He was a fine king. We made a bad trade." The frogs spoke to the gods. They said, "We ask you, the gods, to send us back to King Log." The gods were mad. "Fools," they said. "You said you must have a strong king. We sent you one. He is yours to keep." So, boys and girls, that's our story. And that's what Mr. Mouse also wrote about on his draft. So now we have to edit his draft. But let's go through our editing checklist. We have a draft checklist that we go through when we look at the draft to make sure all the pieces are there that we need. So the first one we have to look for is check that the name of the tale is there. So we need to check that the name of the tale is on his writing. That's the first step. The second step is check that where is there. So when we read his writing, do we know where the writing is, where the story is in his writing? Check that who is there and tell who they are. So does Mr. Mouse's writing talk about who is in the story and who they are? Number 4, check that what is there with once, next, and at the end. So did Mr. Mouse use these transition words in his writing? We need to look for that. Number 5, does Mr. Mouse use capitalization on his letters? Number 6, Does Mr. Mouse use punctuation? And then number 7, check that words are spelled well. So these are our steps we're going to look for, and when we're done and we've checked them off, we'll write a check mark on the side. So let's look at Mr. Mouse's writing. I'm going to make marks on Mr. Mouse's writing as we go through and edit. Remember, the first one is the name of the tail there. I see King Log and King Crane. So is that the name of the tail? It sure is. So we can give Mr. Mouse a check mark right there. Let's read the first sentence. Once there were lots of frogs in a pond. Uh-oh. What's wrong in this sentence? That's right, frogs. That's not how we spell frogs. How do we spell frogs? Let's sound that out. Frogs. So what's wrong here? Can anybody tell me? Think real hard. That's right. We need an O instead of a U. Frogs. Once there were lots of frogs in a pond. So, is the where there? It is, because it tells us it's in a pond and that there were frogs. So we have the where and the who. We can give him a check mark for both of those pieces. So let's look at our next sentence. The frogs said to the gods, we need a king. Uh-oh, I see a couple problems there. Now let's remember what goes at the beginning of a sentence. That's right, a capital letter. So let's circle this lowercase t and write an uppercase T right above it. So we know this needs to be uppercase. I heard somebody say it, frogs. That's not how we spell frogs. How do we spell frogs? That's right, we need to change this U to an O. So, the frogs said to the gods, we need a king. Now there's something tricky that we missed, or that Mr. Mouse missed, that goes at the end of this. That's right. Here's one set of quotation marks. We need another one, so we'll add it right here. All right, next sentence. The gods sent a log to the frogs. Does anyone see a mistake here? I do too. This capital is missing. We need a capital T. The gods sent a log to the frogs. That's right. The rest of the sentence looks good. The log sat and sat. Yep, we need a capital letter. So we'll circle this and write our capital T. Let's read the next sentence. The frogs said to the gods, this log is a bad king. Who sees the first problem in that sentence? That's right, Mr. Mouse missed another capital letter. We'll circle it and correct it right here. I see one more problem in that sentence. Oh, I heard someone say it. We need to make this U into an O. So, the frogs said to the gods, this log is a bad king. All right, next sentence. The gods sent a crane to the frogs. Thumbs up if that sentence is correct and thumbs down if it's not. Good job, I see thumbs up. Let's look at the next sentence. The crane ran and ate the frogs. Now, are there capital letters in that sentence? There sure are. Is there punctuation in that sentence? There is. Does anyone see any spelling errors? Nope, so we're good there. The frog said, "We want King Log back. King Crane is bad." Does anyone see any problems there? I see capital letters, I see punctuation, and I see good spelling. All right, the gods were made. Uh-oh. Were the gods made? What were the gods? They were mad. Here, they wrote made with a bossy E. How do we make made mad? That's right, we take away this E, so we don't need that E. The gods were mad. They said, "No, you keep King Crane." The frogs were sad. What are we missing there? That's right, we're missing a period at the end. So let's look at our checklist. Check that the what is there with once, next, and at the end. Well, I see once, but do we have next or at the end? Let's read back. Once there were lots of frogs in a pond. The frogs said to the gods, "We need a king." The gods sent a log to the frogs. The log sat and sat. The frogs said to the gods, "This log is a bad king." The gods sent a crane to the frogs. The crane ran and ate the frogs. The frog said, "We want a King Log back. King Crane is bad." The gods were mad. They said, "No, you keep King Crane." The frogs were sad. So we're missing next, and we're missing at the end. So where could we put next at the beginning of our sentence? I agree. Let's put next right here. So we are going to put a caret and write the word next. This mark is called a caret. This is how we know to insert this word, put this word in this sentence. So if this is the capital letter in the sentence, what do we need to do with this T? That's right, we need to make this T a lowercase t. So next, the gods sent a crane to the frogs. So we have once and we have next. Where can we put at the end? I agree. I think at the end could go right here. We could say, at the end, they said, "No, you keep King Crane." The frogs were sad. Or could we put it here before we talk about the gods being mad? Which do you think would work better? Okay, I think most of you said, let's put it here before the gods were mad. So we put our caret at the end. The gods were mad. So we can make this T a lowercase. So let's look back at our checklist. Do we have our what and our transition words? We do. Do we have our capitalization? We do. And our punctuation? We sure do. Are our words spelled well? They are. We fixed them. So we get check marks all the way down. Now, this is a little hard to read, right? Because of all our marks. So what we're going to do, what good writers do, is we take our edited draft that we've corrected and we rewrite it in a clean copy or a final copy. So let's do that. What comes first? That's right, the title, King Log and King Crane. Now, I just saw a mistake that we missed the first time we looked at this. What did we talk about in our other lesson when we wrote our draft that had to go right at the beginning of our paragraph? Think about it. You use your fingers to do it. That's right, you have to indent. So we need to use a finger space and indent. So our first sentence, once there were lots of frogs in a pond. Finger space, so we indent. Once there were lots of frogs in a pond. Remember, after we indent our first line, we come all the way to the end of the paper. So our next sentence, the frog said to the gods, we need a king. Capital T, the frogs said to the gods, we need a king. Now they used an exclamation point. Mr. Mouse used an exclamation point right here. Why did he do that? Yes, the frogs were yelling. They were very excited. They had strong feeling about that. So our next sentence, the gods sent a log to the frogs. The log sat and sat. The frog said to the gods, this log is a bad king. Now, why is there an exclamation point here? That's right, they were very angry. They thought that king was bad because he just sat and sat. He didn't do anything. Next, the gods sent a crane to the frogs. There's our transition word, next. Next, the gods sent a crane to the frogs. The crane ran and ate the frogs. Capital T for the. The frog said, we want King Log back. King Crane is bad. Why did they think King Crane was bad? Right, because he was eating them. The frogs said, "We want King Log back." King Crane is bad. So now we're wrapping it up. At the end, the gods were mad. They said, "No, you keep King Crane." The frogs were sad. So here's our transition. At the end, the gods were mad. They said, "No, you keep King Crane." The frogs were sad. Why were the frogs sad? They were sad because they should have been happy with what they already had, right? And then Mr. Mouse wrote the end, and we can do that too. The end. So let's read Mr. Mouse's writing one more time, all corrected. King Log and King Crane. Once there were lots of frogs in a pond. The frog, oh, I missed the S. The frogs said to the gods, "We need a king." The gods sent a log to the frogs. The log sat and sat. The frog said to the gods, "This log is a bad king." Next, the gods sent a crane to the frogs. The crane ran and ate the frogs. The frog said, "We want King Log back. King Crane is bad." At the end, the gods were mad. They said, "No, you keep King Crane." The frogs were sad. The end. So, boys and girls, we edited Mr. Mouse's writing for him and rewrote it in a clean copy. You did a great job today. Thank you.
That was great, boys and girls. You all did a great writing. Great job, Miss Casey. I enjoyed that. All rights and credits for today's lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We'd like to thank them for publicly sharing these valuable resources. The views and opinions expressed in this lesson are those of Core Knowledge Language Arts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Mississippi Department of Education. Thanks for joining us.